All right. Let's say now you have a guy who needs to pay off debt. He needs to pay debt to some arms in some corporation, the arms industry, due to the war. There's a war going on, arms need to be made, and this guy sold a lot of guns. He imported them from some corporation that was involved in producing arms. But the corporation claims that he didn't pay all the invoices. And they're now charging him £20,000. And if he doesn't pay quickly, he can go to jail. So this is a serious situation. Not only that, his family can also lose their income. So the guy thought, you know what, I'm gonna go and figure this out. So the guy decides, you know what, I'm going to relocate my family to the north of England, and I'm going to sail to France, to the war zone, to witness this myself. Because the war's been going on for almost 3 years, and well, I'm doubting whether the information we receive is correct. So the trader now, together with a soldier, who's a low-ranking soldier, they sailed to France to visit the war zone. They were not allowed to arrive there, to come there, but they went anyway. So when they arrived at the alleged war zone, they found just a field of grass with rabbits on it. There were no military men, there were no garrisons, there were no dead bodies of wounded soldiers, there was nothing. And the soldier then and the trader thought, hold on a minute. Where are the people fighting? Where are the soldiers? Where are the mail carriers have to carry the mail between London and here? And between Paris and here? And the two, while traveling to the place, they noticed that the roads are quite peaceful. And they chatted with one another and said, hold on a minute. If there's a war going on, why are people traveling on the road so peacefully? They figured out the hard way that there was no war going on. The British and French rulers conned both the French and British people into thinking that there was this big war going on, and because of that, young men had to go into the military. That's how they recruited troops for the military. But the troops were in practice used to defend the cargo that came from India and from the New World, which at that time was the Americas. So those two men were shocked that there was no war going on, but that's not all. There were many companies that knew about the scam, that this war that was going on was really fake. So they used the ignorance of the people who really thought that there was a war to trick businesses into paying higher prices, because they thought if there's war, there's scarcity of resources are being exploited, so we need to enforce higher prices. And so a lot of people came into debt. So a lot of people couldn't pay their homes anymore, and they became homeless. And this trader realized he was a victim of this scam also. There was no war going on. Now, in this example, which takes place in a colonial setting, which is an extreme example, it's a parable, remember that. It's obvious that they've been conned. Now, what the enemy often does is that he cons you into defeating an enemy that's really not the enemy should be defeating. Let me say it like this. The enemy also wants you to be victorious. This may sound very weird to you, but the enemy wants you to be victorious. He wants you to be victorious in defeating the wrong enemies. Because in defeating the wrong enemies, you don't deal with the root. And when you don't deal with the root, nothing changed. Nothing has really changed, because the root can manifest itself in other forms. Just look at pagan Christianity, for example. Now, there's variation in pagan Christianity, I know that. And it's not only pagan Christianity doing this, but overall, in pagan Christianity, they either teach you to be a helpless victim that can't help him or herself, or, well, that happens in some of those pagan churches, or they teach you to become passive aggressive, mostly aggressive, and make things work by your own strength, and only afterwards you can ask Christ for help, instead of telling you to rely on his strength and operate in his strength. What's going on here? There are circumstances, things that come your way that ought to be dealt with, things that shouldn't happen. And now the enemy is using those pagan pastors to tell you, you need to do something about it, you need to fight it, you need to stand up, you need to this and that. And it works, people get motivated and things are accomplished, but the roots are not dealt with. And here's the thing, when you don't deal with the root, you can be led from one battle to another. Okay, let me give an example here, a paranormal one. Let's say that someone has a victimization spirit, or a spirit of violence haunting him. That individual may have misfortune in every job he has. Okay? But why is that? Because it's that paranormal parasite that feeds off of the negative energy of other people. And the paranormal parasite is drawing that negative energy into the direction of that guy. So people kind of feel comfortable treating the guy poorly, and they can't even explain why. Now those people are responsible for what they're doing, so they ought to stop and they ought to evaluate themselves and acknowledge that they need help. Because it's the guy that's the victim here, not them. They're the ones getting along with it. Even though they sense negative energy coming out of them in his way, and they feel relief in doing it, they shouldn't do it. So now a pagan pastor tells them, you know, you don't work very hard, you're not very polite, you're not this and that. And the guy begins to use these tactics to control the people in treating him well. And it works. So we'll say, problem solved, you won this battle. No. Nothing has been really won over here. Nothing has been won. The only ones that won are the evil spirits in hiding themselves. Because now the guy thinks that the whole situation is his own fault. Well, it's not. It's the unclean spirit, and those other people who are willingly to relieve themselves of their negative energy, they're the ones doing it, not him. His only role is to acknowledge what's going on and seek deliverance. But the pagan pastor, who claims to be filled with the Holy Spirit, who should have told him what was spiritually really going on, instead of that, he misleads him into fighting a battle he shouldn't be fighting. The real battle should be when he perseveres despite the retaliation against the deliverance. Because it's after you've been delivered that the retaliation begins. That's the real fight, to continue despite the retaliation. But now the pagan pastor told him, no, you need to fight it by your own strength, you need to do this and do that. He took Christ out of the picture completely, and the whole responsibility for everything of the situation he left with the believer. And this is practically impossible, because he's not the only one present there. That's why I'm telling you, the enemy wants you to be victorious in winning the wrong battles and in defeating the wrong enemies. And pagan Christianity is very successful in tricking people into these battles and into these victories that on the long run are self-defeating. Look, there are times you just withdraw, and enemy will continue to rage, and enemy destroys himself while he's raging. That's why they shake the dust off your feet, not because you let them win, but because you look at the bigger picture. If they're operating in the negative and they insist on you being the one responsible, they're insisting and investing against you, that investment is going to backfire on them if they persist in it. So you can pray that it may backfire faster, or that will happen immediately, or whatever, but you continue in the power. But if they don't teach you to continue in the power, but they teach you all this other stuff, what are they doing? They're deceiving you. They're tricking you. They're trapping you. That's why I'm telling you, always look beyond. Be at peace.